Hi everyone, this is Jason Burak of Wall Street for Main Street, and this is your video blog for Thursday, July 29th, 2010. People often ask me, Jason, what's the situation at the Fed? And I try to tell them the truth. I try to tell them that, honestly, the Fed doesn't give a fuck about you. The Fed does not care about anyone on Main Street. They don't. If you go and look about what the Fed really is, they're a cartel. They're not really the government. They're more like a private corporation that has government protection, and yet they don't even really answer to anyone in the government. If you've seen any of the questioning of Alan Greenspan in the past or of Bernanke now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The only people that the Fed is beholden to, really, are its member banks, which just happen to be all the largest banks on Wall Street. The Bank of Americas, the Citigroups, the JP Morgans, the Wells Fargos, and obviously Goldman Sachs is involved in that, and the Treasury. And that's the main people. And also the Fed is involved in making sure, manipulating interest rates to try and keep them low, to make sure that the U.S. government can borrow as much money as it wants, as cheaply as it wants. There are many ways the Fed does. This, and most people are not aware of them. Even most Wall Street professionals are not necessarily aware of them, or they don't care. They just trade the news as is. So they don't really try and fix things or alert the public to them. But people on Main Street need to wake up. There are people on Main Street slowly waking up. Today there was an important interview out there in the news. The St. Louis Fed president, Jim Bullard, did an interview on CNBC talking about how we are now entering the stage of deflation, which could be similar to length in Japan. If many of you are not aware, our Japanese friends have had really, really bad deflation supposedly for about 2 decades, since about 1989, 1990. Before then, they had astronomical rises in the Japanese stock market and in their real estate market, and they were buying up a lot of assets all over the world. And then they had a crash. And they had a similar banking system problem to ours. Well, here's the difference between the U.S. and Japan, and there's some major differences involved. So you can't accurately say that the U.S. will end up being Japan. Number one, Japan was a creditor nation then. The U.S. is not. The U.S. is a very large debtor nation. Okay? Number two is that the U.S. has the world's reserve currency. Okay? And while that's good for now, when that changes, it won't be. So Japan just happened to be really the only country that was doing super amounts of massive money printing and quantitative easing during that time period. Because of that, they were allowed to do that, and they were the only currency that was on the carry trade. So now it's a lot different. A lot of other people are printing money. A lot of other countries are printing money too. So I really don't think printing a lot of money is going to do a world of good. It didn't really do that much good for Japan, and it's definitely not going to do that much good for the United States. As far as anything else goes on that, I mean, like I said, my other video blog yesterday is you just need to learn the banker speak. You need to learn the misinformation. If these central bankers, these people in the Fed, if they really cared really about people on Main Street, they wouldn't use banker speak words. They wouldn't use quantitative easing or stuff like that. They wouldn't use those type of words. They would just say, well, we're going to print up a whole bunch of money and we're going to hand it out to people and have them spend it. We're going to hand it out to our friends and have them spend it, or something like that. But they don't want to do that because they want their actions hidden for the most part. So they're going to use fancier terms that people like you and me, they intentionally don't want us to understand. So you need to learn their language. Robert Kiyosaki, in his book, Conspiracy of the Rich, The 8 New Rules of Money, talks about this. He talks about learning the rules of money, which means learning the vocabulary. So what this means is I expect then after that, because Jim Bullard has written papers about quantitative easing, will prevent a Japan-style deflation, since he was an academic and he's written those long papers about that. I expect him to print lots and lots of money. I don't know how much QE. Could be a trillion. Could be 5 trillion. Don't know. They're going to be clever about the way they do this, though. So they're going to try to rig the bond market. They've been doing that very successfully to keep interest rates low. And they're going to try to rig the gold and silver market. So keep your eyes and ears open, and stay tuned to Wall Street from Main Street on our Facebook fan page and on my blog and on Mo Dawood's blog. And we'll be posting stories and engaging in lively debates and conversations about what you can do to protect yourself from this money printing. Everyone have a great week, and I will talk to you later.